Stop thinking about her. Why are you worried about her, bro? Like what? Like why are you worried about her? Do you think she's thinking about you, bro? You think she's still thinking about you, or you think she's thinking about the dude she's sucking up now, the dude she riding now?
A lot of men, or people in general, but I'm talking to my fellas out here. You might know what your purpose is, and you might feel it, but you are easily distracted. You got a cell phone constantly, and if you're in your cell phone, you got social media, and you got everything on social media always advertising to you. Everything's always vying for your attention. You only have so much time to live on this earth while you're alive. It only takes you 10,000 hours to master something, or at least that's your bare minimum to get in. So get your 10,000 hours in. I mean, both of us, we have well over 10,000 hours in multiples of disciplines. It's all about time and time distribution.
Most men today mistakenly believe that women's wild dreams are an inevitable part of life. Most guys will cite their youth and hormonal excess as justifications, so it makes sense why they keep having harmful fantasies about women's prawn and other stuff. The fact that you are young and full of testosterone is not the reason you can't stop thinking about women. Rather, the reason is that you just don't get them. Men will fantasize about anything they do not have. Consider a person who is homeless. What do you suppose they keep repeating? They most likely see a little comfortable apartment where they can stay warm, have clothes to wear, and other things. Now, this is where things entirely change course. Just because some men have trouble meeting women doesn't mean they won't agree to hook up. Even though they might start going to bars and having one-night hookups, this will simply make your fantasies worse. Why? Mostly because of the women. Oh, what a lovely experience I just had with that girl, you might have thought. She was smitten with me. But as soon as your one-night engagement is done, she disappears and is never heard from again. You will actually start to rot from the inside out if you keep saying this over and over again. You will grow accustomed to others utilizing your body and then walking away without a second thought. Your fantasies will become worse as a result, which will affect other aspects of your life. For instance, your pro-addiction can now worsen. To try to recreate the one-night stand you had with a female, you can start to watch it for longer. Take a look around. Hookup culture participants typically never feel fully satisfied. Actually, because their self-esteem has been so severely harmed, the majority of them weep themselves to sleep at night. They have become so lowly that they resemble nothing more than a sensual toy. The majority of these individuals currently experience sadness and mental instability. The shockwave impacts of this may not be immediately felt, especially if you are young, but they are always felt later. In fact, the majority of these individuals don't even want to hook up. They do it so that their friends will approve of them. If you haven't misplaced your V card, for whatever reason, you are not cool. On the other side, a high-value man suddenly chooses who he let into his life, and once they've entered your life, those folks don't suddenly disappear. Single-night affairs. People who enter your life will become attached to you. Returning to the original statement, I would say that you fantasize about ladies because you don't have them and are a high-value virtuous man, not because you are young and full of testosterone. You now have a choice between two things. The first is the monk mode, where you develop mental discipline, or rather, find the ideal woman and wed her. There is really just one method to manage your thoughts and halt fantasies that don't serve your goal if you don't want to go into monk mode, and that is to concentrate on the solution rather than the problem. Just like that. Every time you make an effort to prevent a relapse or an addiction, you still manage to fall victim to it. This is another reason why most men who fall too far down the red pill rabbit hole end up elevating women in their lives and making them the center of their universe. You don't want to waste that time attempting to avoid relapsing while a high-value man concentrates on developing his career, body, and social worth. So keep in mind that what you reject will persist. One becomes with the intention of avoiding relapse. Start by concentrating on the answer or your aim. If you visit the gym, You can restart your training there if necessary. If you are working on your business, then restart where you spend more hours working on it. Be so obsessed by the idea of being successful in that certain area, you never consider having a relapse, and even if it happens, you are aware that you have a much more important task at hand. You are at work. You spur yourself on to pursue art. For instance, you don't persuade yourself to stop studying math or science. Moving on to the second option, marriage is a word that every living man dreads in today's culture. Many people fear the idea. Why? Because nowadays almost all marriages fail. Without a doubt, women and the entire sensual market have become more competitive, and every woman identifies as a female movement. The number of dead women is high. Even while it's true, every other woman would prefer to lead a life of vice rather than a life of virtue. But consider this. 50 years old, where are you alone when you see your friends with families, grandchildren, family get-togethers, and Christmas celebrations? Develop the ability to glimpse into the future. The majority of red pill coaches will try to convince you differently. This doesn't imply that you should get married straight away, but rather that you should work on your purpose and allow it develop gradually over time. Take this patient path to find the right female first. In the same way, improve yourself. Then take note of where to look. For instance, you can't expect to locate a good traditional home while you're in a nightclub. So, brothers, learn to restrain your irrational fantasies and eliminate them one at a time.